Luke's eyes had grown accustomed to the endless darkness sparkling with stars. The ship's extraordinary technology and impressive design no longer felt foreign to him. Each day, he felt more like a part of the Galactic Research Union. The warm and friendly demeanor of the crew had given Luke a sense of belonging on this ship. The fact that he had slept for 100 years and then reawakened had offered him a chance for a new beginning. However, the peaceful days of exploration and science were abruptly interrupted by the sudden blare of an alarm, instantly replacing his sense of security and tranquility with anxiety. As the alarm echoed throughout the ship, Luke's heart began to race. He noticed his hands trembling slightly. With a serious expression on his face, he tried to suppress the rising fear in his heart. Seeing the crew members rushing around frantically, he realized that he needed to act too. The surge of excitement and adrenaline within him spurred him into action. In those moments, he felt not just like a guest, but a crew member who would take an active role in defending the ship. When the sirens started blaring, Zara immediately ran toward the control room. "Luke, come with us," she shouted. Luke, suppressing his anxiety, followed Zara. Upon entering the control room, his eyes widened in awe at the scene before him. The control room was spacious with high ceilings. The walls were lined with massive holographic screens displaying data from all over the galaxy. The screens monitored star maps, the ship's status, and movements in outer space in real time. The atmosphere in the room was filled with tension and urgency. Panels illuminated in blue and green lights were flashing all over the room. The central control desk dominated the room, with various crew members working feverishly around it. Irene stood at the head of the desk, issuing commands to the team. On the desk, a red icon flashed, indicating the rapid approach of an enemy ship. Seeing Luke and Zara, Aaron quickly approached them. "An enemy ship is approaching rapidly," he said, in a serious tone. "We need to assume defense positions. Everyone to their stations." Luke's heart pounded even faster. The flashing panels and the intense work of the crew heightened the gravity of the situation. Luke looked around, trying to suppress his fear. Everyone in the control room was working in perfect harmony, performing their duties. The data on the holographic screens was continuously updated, and the ship's defense systems were activating. Luke had never been in the middle of a battle like this before. "What can I do?" he asked, trying to keep his fear at bay. Zara gave him a determined look. "You're part of this ship too, Luke. Together, we will strengthen our defense. I'll give you a weapon. This is our plasma gun. It's easy to use, but very effective. Come, I'll take you to the armory." Luke followed Zara quickly through the ship's corridors. The sirens were still blaring, and alarm lights were flashing in every corner of the ship. As they hurried along, Zara turned to Luke and said, "This ship's defense systems are advanced, but we also need to defend ourselves individually. Plasma guns are one of our most effective close combat weapons." When they reached the armory, the doors automatically opened, revealing a large room. The walls were lined with various weapons, armor, and ammunition. The room was equipped with all the high-tech amenities, and everything was neatly organized. Zara went to a rack and selected a suitable plasma gun for Luke. "This should be appropriate for you," she said, handing the weapon to Luke. The plasma gun fires concentrated energy blasts and is highly effective. Its charge lasts a long time, but you need to use it carefully. Luke took the gun and examined it closely. "How do I use this?" he asked. Zara began explaining step by step. "First, you fire using this trigger mechanism. This button adjusts the energy level. In low energy mode, you can fire more shots, but in high energy mode, a single shot deals more damage. When you lock onto a target, The laser pointer will help you aim. The recoil of this gun is different, but I believe you'll get used to it quickly. Luke started practicing with the gun, as Zara had shown him. After a few tries, he began to feel more comfortable with its use. "This is quite impressive," he said, with admiration. Zara gently patted Luke's shoulder to encourage him. "I know it can be challenging at first, but we all need to do our part to defend this ship. You're one of us now, and we'll win this battle together." Luke took a deep breath and nodded. The fear inside him was turning into determination. "Okay, Zara, I'm ready. Let's do this." As they left the armory, Luke and Zara quickly took their positions to join the defense line. Luke gripped the plasma gun tightly, ready to face the approaching enemy ship. When the enemy ship approached rapidly and began firing, the ship shook violently. Explosions and flashes of light filled the area. The screens in the control room showed the attacks from the enemy ship and the responses from the ship's defense systems. Suddenly, the alarms in the control room started sounding differently. Aaron looked at the screen and issued an urgent warning. "The enemies are trying to board the ship. Activate internal security systems." Feeling the surge of adrenaline in his heart, Luke looked around. Other crew members inside the ship quickly assumed defense positions. Zara turned to Luke and said, "We need to stop them. Let's join the security teams immediately." As they hurried through the corridors, enemy soldiers began appearing in their path. The enemies, equipped with advanced armor and weapons, had breached the ship. Luke aimed his plasma gun and began firing. The powerful recoil and energy blasts from the weapon both surprised and impressed him. This was a level of combat technology he had never imagined. With his first shot, one of the enemies fell to the ground. However, the remaining enemies quickly retaliated. "Luke, watch out!" Zara shouted, dodging laser fire. "More are coming." Facing a second wave of enemies, Luke reloaded his weapon, trying to suppress his fear. He was experiencing the shock of being in such a battle for the first time, but also moving with determination to protect the ship. The fight with the enemies continued in every corner. Luke skillfully used his plasma gun to neutralize the enemies. As the fighting inside the ship intensified, Luke paused for a moment to take a deep breath. His heart was racing, and he was drenched in sweat. "This is incredible," he thought, "but there's no stopping now. I have to keep going." After clearing another corridor, Zara quickly spoke to Luke. "Great job, Luke. Now we need to get to the main reactor room. The enemies might be targeting it." Luke followed Zara, running towards the reactor room. The high-tech devices and the frantic work of the engineers in the room made the seriousness of the situation even more apparent. They needed to strengthen the defense line before the enemies reached the reactor room. When they arrived, they faced the final wave of enemy attacks. Luke aimed his plasma gun and fired. With each shot, he watched as the enemies fell one by one. Zara and the other crew members were fighting with the same determination. After a fierce battle, the enemy ship finally began to retreat. The ship's crew took a deep breath and relaxed for a short moment. However, everyone knew that this was just the beginning. The enemy had retreated, but they were sure to come back stronger and better prepared next time. The intensity of the boarding attempts and attacks clearly showed how dangerous the enemy could be. Aaron assessed the situation in the control room and addressed the crew. "This victory is important, but the enemy is very likely to attack again and more forcefully. We must increase our preparations before the next assault." Zara nodded at Luke. "We need to hold a council meeting. We must review our defense strategies and plan how we will counter the next attack." Aaron quickly activated the communications system, calling all key personnel to an emergency meeting. All unit leaders and strategy experts report to the meeting room immediately. We will assess the situation and take necessary measures. Luke, Zara, and the other senior crew members headed to the meeting room. As they entered, the room was filled with a serious atmosphere. Holographic screens on the walls analyzed the enemy ship's movements and attack plans. Everyone listened intently, determined to devise the best strategy for the next assault. Aaron started the meeting. The enemy has retreated, but this is only a temporary victory. The next attack could be more intense. We need to strengthen our defense systems and review our attack strategies. Zara shared her plans. First, we need to identify the weak points of the ship. We should optimize our plasma guns and defense shields and use our energy resources more efficiently. Additionally, we need to analyze the enemy's tactics and try to predict their attack plans. Dr. Loran presented the scientific team's recommendations. We will continue working on the Fireball project. This weapon can cause significant damage to the enemy ship. However, we need to make it faster and more effective. We should increase its energy intensity and optimize its targeting accuracy through further research. Zara turned to Dr. Loran and then looked at Luke. Luke, I'm assigning you to work with Dr. Loran on this task. The Fireball project could be our greatest asset. Assist Dr. Loran and ensure this weapon is ready for use as soon as possible. Luke nodded with determination. I'll do my best, Zara. The meeting continued with everyone contributing and establishing strategies. Finally, Aaron summarized their decisions. We must work together as a team and be prepared at all times. When the next attack comes, we'll be fully ready. After the meeting, Luke followed Dr. Loran to the laboratory where the Fireball project was being developed. The lab was a spacious and brightly lit area equipped with advanced technologies. Various scientific devices and screens adorned the walls, and the tables were covered with prototypes and equipment related to the project. Dr. Loran turned to Luke and smiled. Welcome, Luke. Are you ready to work on the Fireball project? Luke nodded. Absolutely. The success of this project is crucial for us. Dr. Loran pointed to a prototype on the table. This is the first prototype of the Fireball weapon. It collects intense energy and fires it in the form of a plasma ball. When it hits the target, it creates a massive explosion, breaching the enemy ship's defenses. Luke examined the prototype closely. This is really impressive. So how does the energy collection and firing mechanism work? Dr. Loran moved to a screen to explain the details. Energy is gathered in this storage unit. Then it's transferred to the firing tube where the plasma ball is formed. During firing, the energy is directed towards the target and concentrated for maximum damage. Now, we need to optimize the energy transfer and improve the targeting accuracy. Luke studied the schematics and data displayed on the screen. I understand. To increase energy intensity, we might need a stronger energy source. How do we ensure the stability of the energy source? Dr. Loran was pleased with Luke's insightful question. To ensure the stability of the energy source, we use these stabilizer modules. They regulate the energy flow and prevent overloading. Let's examine how we can optimize these modules. They began working together. Luke monitored the energy flow while Dr. Loran adjusted the settings of the stabilizer modules. There are still some small fluctuations in the energy flow, said Luke. We need to fine-tune the modules to minimize these fluctuations. Dr. Loran nodded in agreement. Yes, exactly. By making these adjustments more precise, we can stabilize the energy flow, which will make the plasma ball more consistent and powerful. Hours passed as they worked diligently. Luke absorbed every detail of the prototype and applied the techniques Dr. Loran demonstrated. After some time, the energy flow of the prototype became nearly perfect. "Okay, the energy flow looks stable now," said Dr. Loran. "Now, we need to work on improving the targeting accuracy." Luke examined the targeting system. "We should add more precise sensors to lock onto the target with the laser pointer. This will enhance the accuracy of the plasma ball hitting the target," he suggested. Dr. Loran appreciated the idea. "That's a great suggestion, Luke. By adding these sensors, we can further improve our targeting system. We need to integrate and calibrate the sensors." Luke and Dr. Loran carefully integrated and calibrated the sensors. They exchanged ideas at every step, striving to achieve the best results. Finally, after all the adjustments were completed, the Fireball prototype was ready. "There we go," said Dr. Loran, satisfied. "Our Fireball weapon is now working perfectly in terms of both energy flow and targeting accuracy. We're ready for a test fire." Luke took a deep breath and nodded. "Okay, let's test it. Hopefully, this weapon will cause significant damage to the enemy ship." When they moved to the test area, Luke and Dr. Loran set up the Fireball weapon and checked all the settings. Luke approached the control panel and locked the weapon onto the target. "Target locked. Ready to fire," he said. Dr. Loran looked at Luke with confidence. "You can fire, Luke. Let's do this." Luke took a deep breath and pressed the fire button. With a massive burst of energy, the fireball launched the plasma ball. As it sped towards the target, it hit and created a huge explosion, completely obliterating the target. Dr. Loran and Luke watched the test result, then looked at each other. "We did it," said Dr. Loran proudly. "The fireball weapon works perfectly." Luke smiled with a sense of pride and satisfaction. "Yes, we did it together. This weapon will give us a huge advantage in the next attack." Dr. Loran patted Luke's shoulder gently. "Your help was invaluable, Luke. Now, we're ready to use this weapon against the enemy." Luke had left his fear and anxiety behind. He was now determined to do his best as a part of this ship and crew. The fate of humanity and the Galactic Union would be shaped by the determination and cooperation of this brave team.